Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Hall Family Wines Happy Hour. My name is Catherine Walt Hall. I'm speaking to you from Napa Valley, actually at the Sacrochet Vineyard, which is also where I live. And as you can see, it's a gorgeous day outside. The valley is really coming alive. So if any of you are thinking about coming up to the wine country, either here in Napa or over in Sonoma, come on. You're going to find that more and more people are joining. COVID precautions are still in place, but we are ready for you with lots of outdoor venues, and we'd love to be able to taste with you in person, in addition to tasting with you online, which we're about to do right now. So my guest today is just such an amazing woman. I am so excited to chat with her, and I am so wishing we had even more time. So Randi Zuckerberg is my guest. Randi is a best-selling author. She's an entrepreneur, and there she is. And it takes me too long, but let me just say a couple more things. Randi, you have done so many amazing things, and you do them all so well. And she also has performed on Broadway, and it is just very exciting to have you here. So welcome.
Thank you so much, Catherine. First of all, I have to echo what you were saying that Napa and Sonoma is coming to life. I was recently there. It felt so safe. We had the best time. We were playing golf. We stayed at a beautiful hotel. We had so many nice outdoor meals. And so I would definitely echo what you're saying, that it's a fantastic place for tourism right now as we're emerging from this pandemic world. And Catherine, I am just so thrilled to be here with you because you are an amazing woman that I have looked up to for such a long time. And I don't know if you know this, my parents, I just found out, are actually investors in your winery.
I do know that.
Are hugely passionate fans of Hall wines.
I actually do know that, and I'm very proud of it. So thank you so much. So Randi, you are, I think, on the West Coast now, but you live in New York. Is that right? Is that your
That's
main
right.
home? Yeah. So New York is about to open up, isn't it? Didn't Cuomo just announce that like later this month, that there's things are going to go back to something like normal?
Yes, and I'm so excited about it because one of my passions, I guess you could call it a side hustle that turned into almost a full-time hustle, is producing Broadway shows. And this has just been such a devastating year to have Broadway closed for over a year now. So I am so excited that my beloved theater community is coming back to life after such a difficult year. Although I haven't been in New York this year personally, we came out to California for 3 weeks tops last March, and are still here a year later, but I'm looking forward to returning to New York.
Well, I love New York, and I just can't wait to see sort of that creative juice come back to the city. I mean, we all, even if we don't live in New York, those of us who get to go there, is just so much of what I look forward to every year. So I'm thrilled for New York and thrilled for me. So I have to say, now
for all of us. I mean, New York was the first hard hit from the pandemic, and so I think when New York comes back to life, it's really a sign of hope for all of us.
It truly is, and I don't think any of us will ever forget all those devastating scenes at the very beginning, and the pleas for help, and it will touch my heart forever. So to our guests who are watching us, Randi has said that she is willing to answer questions, and so get them in the queue. We will get to as many as we can over the course of the next half hour or so. So lay them on us. So in the meantime, I have so many. So Randi, you are such a Renaissance woman in so many ways, and I listed just a few of your careers at the very beginning, but what is it that you're doing now? What are you focusing on, or what are you planning to focus on?
Sure. Well, first of all, I think both of us on this chat can clarify ourselves as Renaissance women. You really just had so many incredible careers and adventures and accomplishments in your life, and so I aspire to have that kind of impact in all of the different areas that I touch. I think the two real areas that I'm passionate about right now are, one, getting more women and girls into STEM fields and into business and investing. I'm very passionate about more women taking ownership of their finances, of investing, of their financial freedom. And I've been doing a lot of that this year, of just educating women and working with them in that. And then my other big passion, as we talked about, is theater. I've been such a lover of theater, and I think this is the perfect time right now to use technology to bring theater back in a vibrant way, whether that's through live streaming like we're doing right now, or through really innovative ways of connecting audiences who are maybe still scared to go back into a theater with shows that are coming to life. And I actually, one of the things that I've been so excited to connect with you is I feel like you really use technology in such an exciting way in your vineyards and in your processes also. And so you seem to be a lover of combining tech and art as well.
Yes, we are. And by the way, cheers to you and cheers to our guests. Do you have a glass? We'll talk about this a little bit later, but
Yes.
anyway, cheers.
I have two glasses. I'm double fisted.
Whoa, yeah. Okay. I'm going to get to that in a minute.
Cheers.
I do think that the idea of sort of streaming these live performances, that's interesting. You talk about it in terms of Broadway. I've been watching, I've been actually visiting some of my favorite museums around the world, just virtually with some of those programs, and operas and music and symphonies have been broadcast. So, that's been nice, but I'm glad to hear that there's talk about bringing this to Broadway, that you're talking about it.
Absolutely. And I've actually been producing some shows internationally this year, which is something that I had never done before, but in countries like Australia, which you know well, they've been post-pandemic there for almost a year now. And so we can really learn a lot from how theater has come back to life in other regions and how the arts have been brought back to life. And so I actually produced my first show in Australia this year, which has been a really cool experience.
Wow. When you say a show, so was it a play, a musical?
Yes, so it's going to sound maybe a little lowbrow next to some of the high art that you're focused on, but I am a producer of Magic Mike Live, the experience, which is, I think, about the intellectual level that people want coming out of a difficult pandemic year. So that show has been doing so well. It's been bringing a lot of joy to people in Australia. And but a lot of the other shows that I do on Broadway run a range of, very artistic to Magic Mike Live, which is an awesome experience. Maybe not the highest art.
That's awesome. Is it Sydney where the is it
yes,
taking place?
It's starting in Melbourne and then moving to Sydney. And they were so smart how the team set it up with its own tent that's great for social distancing. And you sit at your table and great food and wine come to your table while you're watching the experience. So it's really cool. And I think what this pandemic has done, at least, is it has brought a lot of businesses to the table to rethink innovative ways of delivering content and experiences to people. And I don't know that this type of show would have come up with an experience like this if it wasn't for COVID.
I do think in a general way that we all, well, not only are we all going to be changed, but we all, I think, will be honing our crafts, whatever our crafts are, and they will be mutated to some extent because of this COVID experience. So
for sure.
Yeah. So you produce, and now you're producing more recently. You produced in the past, but you also performed. So does this make you a better producer to have been on stage yourself?
I think it definitely has given me a perspective, and I'll tell you kind of a funny story of how I got to Broadway. So my whole life, my dream was to sing on Broadway, but I got rejected from the music major at school, and I went out to Silicon Valley and had this whole career in tech and sort of completely forgot about my dreams on Broadway. I just I let it go. And although I still sang a lot in Silicon Valley, I had an 80s rock band that I was a part of. I did it for fun. And one day I got a call out of the blue in my living room. I was in my mid-30s, and they said, Randi, we are putting on an 80s rock musical on Broadway. We're looking for a tech personality to come star in this musical. They're like, we called 10 people to ask for recommendations, and all 10 said your name. Do you want to come sing on Broadway? And so out of the blue, after, just decades of kind of ditching this dream that had been my passion for so long, it came back and found me. And I had just found out that morning that I was pregnant with our son. Oh, so they were asking, they're like, maybe in 6 months you can come to New York. I was like, how about Monday? I will start rehearsals on Monday. I literally moved to New York 2 days later, and 2 weeks after that had my Broadway debut, and was in the show for a few months until I was kind of too pregnant to keep doing it. But it was so exciting, and it completely changed the course of my life. Just, I highly recommend to everyone watching this, if you ever have the opportunity in your life to just do something totally different or walk a mile in someone else's shoes, I guarantee it changes your way of thinking about everything.
I just couldn't agree more about the opportunity. I think we all over the course of our lifetimes have these windows of opportunity, and you have to be willing to jump, take the risk, to just do it. And I'm so excited for you. And by the way, I figure you don't get morning sickness.
Oh, I did. It was just, I don't know if there's a nice way to say this, but I blended in well with what was going on backstage with all of the other actresses. So it was just, no one could tell. Sorry, there's not a very nice or pleasant way to truthfully say that. No, I actually was quite ill during it, to the extent that I thought that our 2-year-old son, who we already had, would come to New York with me, but I was just a little too sick to do the show and to take care of a toddler also. So I was kind of separate from my husband and toddler for a few months, which was difficult there. But it led to a whole new career for me, because I quickly realized that after you have had experience running your own business, it's not actually that fun to be on stage and just repeat someone else's lines night after night. There's no career growth, there's no personal growth. But I was like, you know what? I bet, having had the experience of being an entrepreneur in Silicon Valley, that I could run the show. And that's what unlocked a whole new career in theater producing. And Catherine, I'm so excited that right before the pandemic, I was able to bring my parents to Radio City Music Hall with me when I won 2 Tony Awards for producing Best Musicals that year. So that was, it was just, thank you. Cheers to,
My
dreams
gosh.
coming back in all sorts of different forms, and just being open to, the universe delivering gifts to you.
Oh, here. That's a wonderful story. So let's take, let's let some audience participants come in with a question. Let's see what we've got. Okay, here's one from Allie Louder, and it says, Randi, what is one project on your bucket list that you're looking forward to checking off the most? Oh, I'd love to hear what Randi Zuckerberg's bucket list is.
Oh my gosh, there's still so many things on my bucket list. Well, first of all, Catherine, being here with you is definitely a bucket list item for sure. So I'm so thrilled about that. But I'm in the process of checking something off my bucket list. I always wanted to learn how to play golf. And I decided that I was going to pick that up as a pandemic hobby. So a few months ago, I picked up a golf club for the first time in my entire life. And I was like, this year is a disaster, but I am going to come out of this year with a new skill. That's the thing I'm going to do. And I have a goal on my bucket list of breaking 100 this year in golf. I came very close this morning. I shot exactly 100 and I bit it on the final hole when I had the chance to get a 99. I buckled under the pressure, but I'm so close and I'm going to do it this year.
That is so awesome. There are so many people who've been playing golf for so much longer than that. And they're not breaking 100, and that's just wonderful. Just wonderful. So let's talk just a little bit about this wine that we're sipping on here.
Right.
So this is a Chardonnay. It's under the Walt name. Walt is my maiden name, and this is the bottle. And this comes from a vineyard that we own over in Sonoma, which is, I'm in Napa, so it's just over the hill, a little bit west from here. And it's a lovely vineyard because it's very Pinot Noir friendly, which is, for me, any vineyard that's Pinot Noir friendly is not a place I want to live. It's got a lot of wind, it's got a lot of fog, it's very, very cool, but it's the kind of climate that Pinot Noir loves. And I think what happens off of this vineyard in particular, the grapes end up having so much flavor. They're very sturdy. There's a lot of backbone, I think, in this Chardonnay, but they're also very flavorful. So this Chardonnay is, it's aged in oak a little bit, but it has a lot of, I would say a lot of structure. I'm getting a lot of lemon on it in the sips I took.
Yes.
Are you getting the lemon in the?
I am. I love Chardonnay is one of my favorite types of wine. And this is such it's such an enjoyable, drinkable, wonderful Chardonnay. So thank you.
You know, we changed our Chardonnay style a couple of years ago when I took the winemaking team to Burgundy, and I've always been a fan of white Burgundies, and the Chardonnays that are made in California are often very, very full-bodied, and we have the advantage of the ripeness you can get from the California sun, but we started showing a little more restraint in the last couple of years, and I think it's reflected in this. So we pick the grapes a little bit earlier, they get a little bit less sweet, there's a little more minerality in the flavor, and I think it produces a wine that's probably more better to pair with foods, you know.
Yeah.
So do you cook? Are you
in addition to everything else? I've gotten a lot more into cooking during the pandemic, but I have to admit that I'm a bit spoiled living right in the middle of Manhattan, because by the time that you would, go get ingredients, cook in your tiny kitchen, do everything, it's just so much more enjoyable to go to one of 100 amazing restaurants right outside your doorstep. So maybe I'm more of a connoisseur of other people's cooking and wine. But I do, oh my gosh, I do love a great wine. And Catherine, I'm wondering if you can describe some of the art, because I keep hearing about just how beautiful the art is and how your winery in St. Helena has really become almost a beacon of, the rabbit is almost like a symbol of Napa and Sonoma now.
My husband and I love to collect art. It's really, it's passion, and it's wonderful that to be able to do something together that has really been a fun thing for him. He's in the real estate business, so he's got a lot of places too that he can look for real estate for. So it's been a great joy for us. So I think when we collect, there's a couple things that we look for. First of all, I want things to be happy. I mean, there is some wonderful art out there that I'm happy to go look at in a museum. But if it's something that that's going to be in my life or in my home, I want it to bring me joy. So anything basically that's a mother and child, I'm there, But I like to pick things that are happy and joyous. We try to balance in the collection sort of famous artists and emerging artists, because I think it's part of the responsibility of someone when you are selecting a collection to sort of help some newcomers along. So like at the winery, we have we have a beautiful sculpture by Jaime Plenza, who's does beautiful those big heads, you know. We've got one on the lawn there, and then we've got some other sculpture that's also wonderful, but by folks pretty much nobody's heard of, you know, but I hope they will someday. So I'd say our collection is varied, but I love what art does to people. It's good for our visitors. I think it's wonderful for our employees too. So we have a lot of art that nobody sees except our own staff.
I love it. Catherine, I'm curious also, sorry to ask you so many questions, but I'm so excited to be here. Do you have, a wine in your collection over the years that you're just like, boom, nailed it. Like I'm so proud. I mean, you have so many wines like that, but what's the one that you're gonna you want like on your gravestone one day?
Yeah. Oh, I think probably, well, it's going to be one of the Catherines, or it's going to be one of the one that come off of this vineyard. This is the Sacrochet. And I am really, really enjoying the Excellence right now, which is Catherine Hall comes off of this vineyard, but the Excellence is just a couple rows off of this vineyard that we think are a little more special. And the reason I like both of those a lot is that they have this sort of luscious softness about it that is, to me, I love a Cabernet that's got, it's just luscious, you know. I mean, that probably is a good time for me to move on to the Cabernet that we're going to be tasting here, because it's a wonderful Cabernet. I would contrast it actually with the Catherine Hall in the sense it's got a lot more structure. So anyway, let's take a sip and then see what we think.
Because now that you said the word luscious, like that's what's on my mind as I taste this wine.
Good. Let's see. Ooh, wow! A lot of sort of dark plum, dark brambly fruit in that nose, right?
I feel like I'm on like a beautiful emotional roller coaster with this wine. Like it just different flavors just keep coming up as you're tasting it. It's really incredible.
Oh, I love that, Randy. I think that's really a sign. Now, this is a young wine. It's a 2017, I'm almost certain. And
it's beautiful. It's so rich. It's fresh and rich at the same time, if that's a
yes, it is.
That doesn't contradict itself too much. Like you could enjoy this on a hot summer day and not feel like, oh my gosh, I'm drinking a heavy red.
It's true, and that's because it's actually a very big wine, but it has a lot of acid in it.
Oh.
There's a lot of tannin. There's sort of a tannic acid in this wine that gives it lift.
Wow.
And I do this because I can kind of feel it here.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Absolutely.
Nice. So I think that's, you like a wine. I think in California, the challenge in making a great Cabernet is really to pull back because we can get this ripeness from the sun. And I was talking about the sort of restraint on the Chardonnay, but I think it's even more true in a Cabernet, because you just don't want to have a big fruit bomb that you can't enjoy sipping alongside a great meal. And or at least that's not the kind of wine that I hope that we will be making. And so so this has it's a sort of a level of elegance, about it.
Yes.
So I don't know.
What food would you most enjoy drinking this with?
Well, probably, I actually don't eat meat, but if I did, I'd put a steak with this in a heartbeat. I mean, it's so big. But what I probably put with this is I'd probably do something like a really thick a risotto that had just a lot, really lots of Parmesan cheese, lots of just richness, and maybe with I've got peas in my garden right now that are just wonderful. I might put some peas in there, you know.
That sounds like the comfort meal we all need after the year we've been through. That sounds amazing.
You know what? Isn't it true? It's all about comfort. I mean, it's like comfort meals, comfort shoes. I can't even tell you how long it's been since I've worn heels. You know, I mean, all of
Totally.
it's, you know.
Totally. Although one thing that I kind of have my takeaway from this year is like, don't wait to have the nice stuff in life. Like, I feel like I used to buy beautiful clothing and kind of save it for the right occasion, or really fancy wine and save it. And this year I was like, my takeaway from this year is don't wait. Enjoy the good stuff now. Like, wear those fancy clothes, take out that bottle of beautiful wine, and just enjoy your life.
Here, here. Let's take another question. Let's see what we've got from the group. Okay, this is from Connie O'Murray, who says, besides wine and theater, what brings you joy, Randi?
Oh my gosh. Well, so many things bring me joy. I mean, I have 3 beautiful young children that bring me so much joy. But I have to say, kind of professionally, something else that brings me so much joy is just mentoring and working closely with women who are starting businesses. It's such a passion of mine. I like to say that I'm a professional mom to entrepreneurs. I'm an amateur mom to my own kids, but I have probably invested in, advised, or mentored more than 50 women starting their companies. And that's something that makes me feel really proud. You know, that's only one small person making a small change, but you know, if those women go on to employ other women and invest in other women, you know, investing in the future that you want to see, even in a small way, has a huge ripple effect. So that's something that brings me a lot of joy in life. I guess just like you supporting those artists, those emerging artists, I guess I'm like a patron of entrepreneurship in the same way.
I love that. I just here. I think that's so great.
Thank you.
Okay, I have a question, and it's rather open-ended, but you have spoken a lot, written a lot about balance in life. You've pick 3. You've talked about things other than that. Talk about a bit about sort of just balance and focus in your, I don't know, however you want to say, in your profession, in your career. And I have to say, I love the phrase that you talked about. I read it was in one of your books, but about Harvard used to look for well-balanced people, but they also look for lopsided people.
Yes,
which is such a great image, you know. So anyway, I just think there are balance it's all in the eyes of the beholder, it seems to me. But I would just love to hear you just talk about the balance that you go for yourself.
Absolutely. And after this, I'd love to hear your perspective on this as well, Catherine. But I feel like I have, especially when I became a mom, everyone would always ask me, you know, how do you balance it all? You have kids and a career. First of all, no one ever asks my husband how he balances it all. And they are also his same children, but he never gets asked that. So somewhere along the line, work-life balance became something that's only for women or only for moms. And that's strange because we're all balancing and we're all prioritizing. So I've always kind of taken a different approach, which is that I don't think any of us accomplish anything we're proud of when we're perfectly balanced. Like, I guarantee if I asked anyone who's listening to name the 2 or 3 times in their life they did something they were most proud of, no one would talk about, you know, that day you got up and went to the gym and then, you know, did this with your kids and did this. No, you would name a time that you allowed yourself to go all in on 1 or 2 areas of your life. And so I'm a real advocate of, instead of putting pressure on ourselves to do everything every day, I have a philosophy called pick 3. Like, pick 3 things that you're going to be great at in your life right now, with the hope of balancing everything out in the long run. But I guarantee that if you just kind of get rid of that guilt of having to balance everything, and you allow yourself to be well lopsided, you will actually be much happier and more successful and prouder of the things that you do. And so that's how I try to live my life. Sometimes you get to pick what you want to be well lopsided in. Sometimes, like this crazy year we've all had, the universe picks for you.
That's really beautiful. Just really beautiful. And I think who better to tell that story than someone who has done so many things in so many diverse areas and who does them well. And my goodness, on top of it all, she can shoot about 100 on golf, and she's only been playing a couple months. I mean,
just one time.
I don't know. So it's just, that was really beautiful, and I just I love that.
I mean, I don't know. Don't you feel, Catherine, that there's just so much guilt, especially for women, that we're always kind of having to apologize for the things we're not doing or feel guilty, and just, you know, how much better life would be if you could just take away that guilt and feel great about the things you are doing?
So true. And I couldn't agree more. And I think part of what we need to do is just to be, I think you've said it, but this is just a different word to describe it. We have to be gentle on ourselves.
Yes.
Just to recognize that you just, nobody can do everything perfectly, and especially not at the same time, you know. So
yes.
You just, life is long and it's sequential, and so you can get there. But
that's right. And your priorities will shift and change as life does. And so, you know, if you're in a phase right now where you're kind of need to be all in on your career, go do that, because there'll be other times where if you need to be all in on your family or all in on a passion that you have, it's great. And don't feel guilty about not doing those other things. There'll be time and place for them. So this has been a beautiful year it's been a challenging year. I never thought that, you know, when we came out to California for 3 weeks that we'd be still here. We left food in our fridge back in New York. But it has actually been a beautiful year of silver linings, with being closer to family and spending so much beautiful family time. I mean, never in life would we have prioritized, you know, spending a year with my parents, you know, in their home and spending this time. And it's actually been quite beautiful. So I hope that everyone out there who's listening has had some silver linings, blessings in their life out of all of this year.
Oh, that's really beautiful. It really is so much about making the lemonade out of the lemon, isn't it?
Yes.
I mean, now, but also, well, I was going to ask you for any last thoughts. You just gave us a beautiful one, but I need to let you go. But I am so grateful that you were on. And if any last...
Yes. Well, actually, I saw one question flash through earlier that I wanted to make sure that I got to. Someone was asking a question about books or podcasts that we would recommend for teaching women, especially about finance. And I could recommend a million books, but I'm going to say that the number one thing is actually just investing and putting money into things, because I guarantee that if you put some skin in the game and you put some money into something, you will pay attention to it and you will learn. So, you know, for me, I really wanted to learn about crypto about 5 years ago. And so I was like, you know what, the only way that I'm going to do this is if I actually buy some Bitcoin and some Ethereum. And guess what? That forced me to pay a lot of attention to that space when I had skin in the game. So I think you could listen to podcasts till your ears are spinning, but until you actually put some skin in the game and invest, you're not really going to learn and be forced to be connected. So that's my number one recommendation, is just to get started.
Oh, such good advice. Thank you just so much, Randi. It's just been a true joy having you on. I've loved the conversation, and I look forward to, please come back in person. Times are changing, and I look forward to welcoming you up here.
Absolutely. I can't wait to see your beautiful art and give you a big, beautiful hug in person, Catherine. Thank you for all that you do for the world, and to make it a more beautiful and a more delicious place for all of us.
Thank you. Thank you. Cheers.
Cheers.
Well, that really was a discussion from my perspective that could have gone on for another hour. Isn't Randi Zuckerberg absolutely amazing? And what great advice she was able to give us in such a short period of time. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. Thank you for following us at the Hall Family Wines Happy Hours. My name again is Catherine Hall. Follow us on Facebook or Instagram so you can keep up to date with the other wonderful shows. We've got some great guests lined up. We are here every week on one of our channels, and we look forward to seeing you. In the meantime, stay healthy and sip up.